Just ahead is the hospice my brother runs. He'll take us in. That didn't answer my question. I honestly don't know. Mind, and you're just a delusion.
Hello there, Sorry from 17 once again. This is my Evil Within Akumu. No upgrades, no keys, difficulty walkthrough. This is chapter 4. It's entitled The Patient. So, at the beginning of this we're going to be introduced to a new enemy type, and it is a fat enemy, and I'm not trying to be sizist or ableist when I call this guy fat. The game calls them fat, and it turns out fat enemies have more HP. So, if ever you see a big boy like this one, because they all generally seem to be male, it will tell you that he has more health in his pool than the standard average haunted, which is the name that the creatures are called on this game. That right there was a trap disarm. If you're not quite understanding how that mechanic works, you have to open the chest up to the point where it starts to open itself. If you let go at the moment it starts to open itself, you should be okay. If you keep holding A, you're going to get either blown in half or have a very large deficit come off your life. But the technique I showed you then was to essentially use the pathing of the fat guy against him so we can stab him in the head. It's the best way to save ammo. I wish I could tell you that I'm going to use the best strategies to save ammo on every fight, but the more I think back to some of the stuff I was doing in certain parts of this game, it's just not true. This made me jump. My second time through, believe it or not. My first time, I expected it coming. My second time, because I was in, walkthrough mode and just powering on, motherfucker made me jump. Something worth noting as well, the spectre that you just saw, it will drop green goo if you're upgrading, and I believe it's 1,000 or 2, so it's worth picking up. But I'm going to go into this room here, I'm going to do some salvaging, and we're going to check some more things out. If you notice that I sound a little bit hoarse, apparently there's a throat bug going around, and you remember how I lost my voice? I think that was it, but unfortunately I'm feeling like I'm getting the motherfucker again. So, in my fervour, I'm going to try and put out as many of these videos as I can before I lose my ability to speak again, if that happens. I'm hoping my body, in its infinite wisdom now that it's got those experience from taking on that virus, it's going to kick back a little better. It's going to, knock Ivan Drago's head off and win, and, if we can win, then we can win, we all can win, and changing and politics and all that great stuff. But, who knows? So this is an easy level. And you might be wondering what I mean by that. It's that simple. Compared to the hell that is coming, and compared to some of the things we've already done at this point, this is a really simple mission. The only tricky part to Chapter 4 is that first playthrough. On your first playthrough, you're not going to know what you're doing. You're not really going to know what is expected of you. I'm going to trim out every single time we enter these mirrors by doing that. It's not as seamless as I would like, but I think it looks quite cool. There's only one time when it's going to get really, really egregious with it too, and that is during Chapter 9, because I was experimenting to see whether or not saving repeatedly would cool the timer of Ruvik turning up. So this right here is not necessary at all. I just wanted to know what it did. I didn't even know she was alive. I thought she was a monster. So she comes over here and she disappears, and watch how bad the disappearing looks. They turn all pixelated. Oh, it didn't look too bad, that one. When you burn certain surfaces on this game, they kind of turn into pixels. It's like a polka dot pattern of meshing. It looks really bad. It really does. And there's a pig there if you want to kill it. It lets you burn the animals, but I don't know if it does anything. I have no idea if the hay bales are worth burning. There might be something in them, but I don't want to waste the matches. I'm only going to have 5 matches at most at any given point, and I would go as far as to say, sorry, I got attacked by like a silent burp then, that the matches are probably one of the most important pieces of equipment you'll get in the game, and if you use them correctly, they can do so much damage. It's just the game rarely affords you that luxury. And if you're a really good player and you're aware and you've played this game a few times, you've probably got some interesting chokes you've come up with which are going to help you out, but there's only a few that I'm going to utilise in this walkthrough because I just don't have them yet. And a great example is, there's a gauntlet that happens in Chapter 15 and I really don't agree with it. The way that they set you up on that it's kind of bullshitty. But here is a cutscene showing this guy. I've left it in because it transitions from the cutscene to the gameplay quite smoothly, so I decided to keep it in. I'll not do that often, folks, unless it's this smooth. Watch this. I think that's really cool. And then we get attacked by him, and I'm going to burn him because he's big. So I think I've already explained that the matches can sometimes get you killed, and that they're also very important, so it's kind of this choice of willing the bullshit to win. And there are a lot of sequences in this game where you have to rely on bullshit to win, and depending on how lucky you are will depend on how much trouble you have with Akumu difficulty. I really believe that. I'm just somebody who's very unlucky. Incoming jump scare as well, guys. It's kind of obvious, but there you go. Some people have asked what system am I playing on. This is the Xbox 360 version. I think you can tell sometimes by some of the textures that it's not the next gen or PC. I think the next gen versions look really nice. I think the PC looks really good too. And as you can see just there, this does not have VSync because there was massive screen tearing when I turned around. So, you know, it's last gen, folks. It's still good though. It still runs. It's playable. We'll say that much, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. As we hear Leslie screaming and we pick up some matches. I'm going to have a really fun fight in this area with a dude upstairs. It's one of those really interesting moments that the Evil Within does really well. Because one enemy on this game is just as dangerous as 10. Because it's the same practice to kill everything. Except, well, everything that's standard. The standard haunted, who are the people who have been plugged into STEM and have died. And now they haunt it. I believe is what the model profiler explains them as. So anything that's wrapped in barbed wire or looks like it wants to eat your face is a problem. But fighting those, as I said, it's the same regardless of if it's 1 or if it's 20. And of course that depends on if you've got a shotgun. And what I mean when I say this is you lure them all together as best you can, you group them up, you hit them with one shotgun shell, and then you burn them. And if you do it correctly in a place which suits your strategy, you will kill all of them. I have done like an 8-man burn with a 1 match. The problem with it is it doesn't always work. The detection doesn't always work, and you can get smacked because it doesn't always work. And that is where this game kind of falls apart for me. And it never falls apart to the point where I would never play it or I would really angrily attack it, but it's just that thing of there are certain elements within the gameplay that were done better on Resident Evil 4 over 10 years ago because they knew that certain things were silly. And there's a lot of interesting things that happen in this game which I just don't understand. A great example is every so often you can make Sebastian flinch. Flinch from anything, and you can't control him. He will do a weird animation, he'll become completely inert from your control, and then, after he's finished pissing about, you'll finally have control of him. And it can get you killed, of course, because everything gets you killed on this game. And it happens at intervals that don't make sense, and every so often it rears its ugly head, and you'll die. One of the worst areas for this is there's a little shootout in chapter 12 where you're on a bus and a ton of zombies, or the haunted, sorry, are coming from your front and coming from your left on balconies and dropping down and throwing Molotovs. If the rifles land anywhere near you, it makes him do this flinch where you can't control him for a few seconds. And it doesn't make any sense because the guy with the automatic weapon can shoot at your character and not hit you, but you don't do a little dance to let him hit you. It is... I don't really understand it too much, but here is the guy that we're doing the little back ring around the roses with. I shouldn't have used the shotgun in these instances, but I do have a lot of ammo for it, so I'm not too bothered about it. That is really good news. The axes are amazing. Anything that's a one-hit kill, or a one-hit kill within reason, is great.
Is it over?
And in the previous video, you noticed that there was a haunted that was dressed like Ruvik that releases those crazy Laura hands after you when he sees you and he does that blood-curdling scream. He's not even a special enemy, him, guys. I didn't know this. I thought he was classed as a special. But looking in the model viewer, he's just a standard Haunted who has a higher affinity with Ruvik. I've learnt a little bit more about him as well. Not only can you kill him with an axe or I assume a torch, your Magnum will kill him in one shot if done correctly. Shotgun, if you're lucky, will knock him down and you can burn him and kill him instantly, but you can freeze him and he will shatter. I did not know this up until chapter 15, and I need to tell you as early as possible to give you the most amount of tools. Because in some circumstances, because I don't know the stats of the weapons, and it looks like I'm not going to know them for a very long time, I have no idea if it's worth wasting Magnums on him, and you're going to see me waste Magnums on him. And if you can get away with using a freeze bolt, which is expensive in the real estate of trap parts, but Magnums are rarer, let me tell you that, and you're going to watch me in this walkthrough miss a piece of Magnum ammo sat on a shelf because I was so eager to get to the checkpoint after an absolute bullshit, hellish ride of nonsense that I just wanted to get forward and I missed jumping over a gap I couldn't get back on. And those 5 Magnum rounds would have made a massive difference in the double keeper fight coming on chapter 15. Because that mission is clinically offensive when it comes to a lack of a resource for the player. But we need to talk about chapter 4 because we're here right now. This is a new enemy turning up, and he's invisible. My first playthrough, I was waiting for something to turn up and it grabbed me because I didn't realise it was invisible. But wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, and then boom. Use your axe, get rid of him, and there you go. Do not burn anything you kill unless it's alive. And I know that sentence doesn't make sense, but it'll do. So now that we've saved Leslie and the doctor, we're going to be moving out of this room, this crazy red room, and we're going to be moving into one of the first real crazy ambushes of the game. And I've been playing the game with upgrades last night, which was really cathartic. Just having, you know, more than 5 matches and more than 8 shells and things is a really good feeling. But I've also been noticing some of the conceits of certain parts of it. For instance, oh, watch this. The game, because it's in this kind of cinematic-y moment, will not let me pick up ammunition from the shotgun. Which I thought was a little bit sad.
Leslie?
I think actually I made a mistake there. I think it's because I didn't reload it and then try to pick it up. Yeah, I think that's what it was. I need to explain that too, because this game, it does tell you what it means, but sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to understand. You cannot pick up ammo if your clip is full. It seems. Or if your stock is full but your clip is empty, you can't pick ammo up. It has to be stock. And it's the same with the crossbow bolts. If you have 2 crossbow bolts, you cannot pick up any more bolts unless you load one of those bolts onto your crossbow or equip that particular round. It seems to allow you to pick up an extra one. I don't really know why this is. I think the way the game handles ammo is kind of disgraceful. I just think it could have done it so much better. I do not like the pause to access the menu. I think a game like this would have benefited much more from the Resident Evil 4 mechanic of just pausing the game. Because as it stands, it leaves you massively vulnerable. And that's not really where you want to be in a survival horror. You know, you want some kind of safety. And it's intentional to make you feel unsafe. It's just the amount of times... Bloody hell, that was close. Setting off all the traps here. But the amount of times where I've panicked inside a menu while something's been coming to attack me, that I've not got out of it as swiftly as I should have, and I've died because of it, is... I can't even count it on one hand. It's happened a lot. If you approach this door, it's going to trigger the fight, by the way. But I don't really understand the menus. I wish it was paused. I also wish the inventory was like Resident Evil 4, where you moved it around and you could change how you carried things. Because I just think that would be a nicer hark back to the kind of era that they're trying to capture with this game. Oh, goodness me, you see that? That's one of those rare moments where the game decided not to kill me. So that's the second grenade used. It's me changing back to... Ah, I know here there's a Ruvik clone. The difference in this fight to the other difficulties is this guy. And at this moment in time, he scares me. For really good reasons. Because when he sees you and he activates that crazy fucking scream mode, you can't hurt him until after he's done it. Oh, tell a lie, you can hurt him. The reason I'm saying I said that, you might be wondering, as I contradict myself, but knowingly, is because I know one Magnum round will kill him on the hardest difficulty without upgrades. When he screams, I've shot him and he didn't die. So, something happens during the animation of that move that makes him either more resilient or gives him an iframe or two. You need to be aware of it so that you don't waste ammo like I did. But all that's left to do now is go around the room and pick up all the ammunition that's been dropped or that you didn't grab, because we're moving towards the end of the chapter, and this chapter, as I've said, is pretty simple. But, like, cosmetically, I really like the green gel idea. I like the noise of picking up the jars. I like picking up the jars, and I like the way you get upgrades, where he sits in the chair and he gets his brain all jacked up. I think that's great. I think mechanically, it could have been a little bit different, because I think when you're going for a no upgrade run like I'm doing, there should be some preset where the game doesn't give you green gel, because it gives you a lot of it, and there's nothing you can do with it. Whereas in Resident Evil 4, which is a game that this is going to get compared to a lot, and it's a game that this wears the colours of because it was made by the same guy, and he learned a lot of lessons in that game, and he's brought them to this one. But for instance, in 4, you could use the gold that you got to buy rockets from the guy, and it was the same gold that you would use to upgrade. So even though you weren't upgrading, you weren't stopping yourself from being strong. You weren't penalising your own abilities, and I thought that was really cool. In this game, there's nothing to do with the gel unless you upgrade. You know, there's no way to douse an enemy in it and then light them with a match or anything. There's no trade-off. There's nothing. It's just unused, and I appreciate that the game was possibly not really meant to be played the way I'm playing it, in spite of the achievement, which, you know, kind of means that it was. It just seems like something that maybe they could have had an option for us. But the achievement calls this enemy here a Shrieker. Its actual name in the model viewer is Laura. It is a manifestation of a character in the game. And there's going to be spoiler alerts in this guide, guys, because I want to talk about the plot, because I actually really like it. I think the ending's a bit flat, but I think the plot as a whole is really interesting, and it's a great premise to do what they've done. Admittedly, in your first playthrough, it's so goddamn confusing that it's really difficult to keep up with what's happening. Did you see that then? That was me doing the flinch. For some reason, my character froze and I couldn't move. It's weird. It's like a serious look gopher. I don't have to tell you that if she touches you, you're dead, so you want to get away from her. You can kill her though, and I know this because I shot 2 rockets at her last night and she died. And the funny thing is, the game kind of doesn't know what to do after that, because if you kill her right at the beginning, there's none of this, there's none of the music, there's none of the tense moments. It's just, you get, I think, 18,000 gel and she dies. She goes into the ground and disappears. But did you hear what I said then? 2 rockets. Nothing on this game, on any difficulty, should take 2 rockets. I don't agree with it. The reason I didn't burn the body there, folks, is so that she comes up in the elevator rather than in front of me. I find it's just a lot easier to get past her. And in this moment you have unlimited sprint because the game takes pity on us. Just imagine this game with unlimited sprint. It would be such a better game. What the fuck were they thinking? Truly. Unbelievable choice. And you're going to have to get really good with feathering your sprint, because you're going to need it to get out of the grabs, but at the same time, if you use it too much, you're going to get grabbed. Guaranteed. But the only thing left of the chapter is to play with Ruvik a little bit. Which, the name is kind of dumb. It's a good name, don't get me wrong. It sounds, you know, Eastern European assassin kind of name. Ruvik killed every man he ever met. But it's just a combination of the first 2 letters of his forename and his surname. which seems a bit strange, doesn't it, to combine the two in such a way. But here we go, falling into the abyss, and then suddenly not being in the right axis anymore, and introducing us to the first area of Chapter 5 coming up, which is another simple chapter except for one part. One part of it makes it very difficult, everything else very simple. Thank you very much for watching, and you take care now.